league flag being performed by Mrs. Betty Holmes, the wife of the Rangers chairman and chief executive, being assisted in that role with a battery of photographers. For the first time in 9 years, the league championship flag is unfurled at Ibrox. Alistair Hood, the operations executive, checking things. There's Mrs. Holmes, naturally dressed in blue, and the celebrations starting again among the Rangers fans.
And join the likes of Alex McLeish and Willie Miller in settling for the Pittodrie club. There are league club ties this week. Dundee have made a great start. Bedford is off to a flying start, but I'll actually be backing Ali McCoist because, well, I mean, Rangers get a lot of penalties, don't they? And in the department of bad lads, the red card race. Dundee had Jim Duffy sent off in midweek. Craig Patterson, as you saw, took the long walk yesterday. And we want your views. Every week we'll have a studio guest, and we'd like you to ask the questions. If you have any views at all, and I'm sure you have, write to us. Here's the address: Ian Archer, Scott Sports, Scottish Television, UEFA Cup tie in Dortmund live. Sorry, the stories are wrong. We won't be showing it. More football later in the programme when we go to Old Trafford.
Hearts stay home to Dundee United, Hibs go to Morton, Motherwell stay home to Aberdeen, and Rangers meet Falkirk. And Rangers player boss Graham Souness well knows that his side has still to record its first Premier League win this season. But with both Dunfermline and Celtic unbeaten in the league, all eyes will be on East End Park. What memories the fixture will evoke, and for no one more than Celtic boss Billy McNeill, who was involved in many famous clashes with the Pars in the 60s. Big Billy has fond memories of his Scottish Cup winning goal, which floored the Fifers in '65 and launched Celtic into the most successful spell in their history. Francis.
That's right, and that's another worry for Rangers, and of course he's got this pay as you play situation, and he might have a bit of trouble filling the supermarket trolley if he doesn't hurry up and get a game. But he's a quality player. He'll do a good job when he comes in for Rangers.
I think he's got a few quid in his back pocket anyway, hasn't he?
I would think so.
You said at the outset Rangers will win the league. Are you sticking to that?
Very much so. A lot of people mumping and grumping just now. People who come out of the woodwork to support Rangers last season, they're the faint heart. Rangers will come good. Don't worry about that.
We'll keep watching. Jerry, thanks.
In a line, is it going to be an Old Firm double for Dunfermline?
It'll be a difficult game on Wednesday. We'll be trying our best. We have to thank Aberdeen Football Club. They've done a great job getting tickets to us today. Mr Taggart for Aberdeen. They all sold, I think, within 2 hours of them going on sale this morning. And it's great to see Dunfermline people coming back and supporting the team.
Great to see Dunfermline back. Hang about, Jim, because we can have a wee word with you later as well. Right, there we are, and to complete Dunfermline's day, here's what it's done to the league table. The Pars aren't just back, they're back with a bang. And Aberdeen manager Ian Porterfield can be happy too. He's in Dublin today watching UEFA Cup opponents Bohemians, Aberdeen's top of the league. Here's the reasons why the Dons are there. McCoist goes top of the scoring list. His 3 goals against Falkirk was the first Premier League hat-trick of the season. John Brown, incidentally, might miss Dundee's Skull Cup tie at Meadowbank on Wednesday. He's injured. And we welcome St Mirren's Kenny McDowell to our Red Card Club. He was sent off against Dundee and joins Craig Patterson and Jim Duffy as bad lads. Well, it was a bit of a wasted week for Andy Roxburgh. Your remark about Ali McCoist and penalties was as hard to swallow as the mouthful of roast beef which nearly choked me. What do you mean? Well, I do recommend a better butcher, but I was half right. The Old Firm do get a lot of penalties. Here's how it worked out last season. Rangers and Celtic on top. And here's how the individuals scored. McLeod scored with 8 out of 12, McCoist with 5 out of 6. So with Brian at Man United, I still take Ali to win from the spot this season. Coming up this week, Skull League Cup ties. The teams in white are the ones I take to win. No shocks on Tuesday. I'm sorry, Jim. I do take Rangers to beat you on Wednesday. You see, the thing is, there's an awful lot of Rangers fans down where I live. A possible shock there at Meadowbank. Well, we still want your letters. Next week's studio guest will be Wallace Mercer of Hearts. He's already had a run-in with the SFA, and he doesn't exactly hide his light under any bushel at all. Letters for Wallace to Ian Archer, Scott Sport, between Rangers and a compass. A compass has 4 points. I don't mean it, honestly.
Address those letters to Ian Archer too.
Tonight surrounds the glamour football fixture planned for November in Manchester between English champions Everton and Scottish champions Rangers. The match is part of the English League centenary celebrations, but English Football Association fears of crowd trouble might now knock the fixture right out. For that, plus the rest of the sports news, here's Jim White.
Rangers were initially invited by the Scottish Football League to take part in the English League's birthday celebrations. The party? A glamour match against Everton in November at Main Road, Manchester. But now reports of English Football Association fears of crowd violence has cast doubt over the match going ahead. Today, officials at the English League's headquarters in St Anne's were saying that reports the match would be scrapped were rubbish, but the FA was sticking to a terse no comment. Now Rangers have written to the Scottish League for clarification, with a club spokesman saying tonight that the Scottish champions were anxious not to end up involved in an argument which was not of their own making. The matter should come to a head next week when the allocation of tickets for the match will be discussed. Here's Skull Cup action and 3 fixtures tonight before the bulk of the third-round matches tomorrow. Hearts play Clyde, and meantime tonight for of tomorrow's Old Firm clash. Out tomorrow is Rangers captain Terry Butcher. He has a back strain and his place will be taken by either John McGregor or Avi Cohen. But in for Celtic is goalkeeper Alan McKnight. Pat Bonner has failed to make it, so McKnight will make his Old Firm debut. And he won't be the only Celtic man making his Old Firm debut. Close season bye Chris Morris, formerly of Sheffield Wednesday, will get his first experience of a Celtic Rangers clash tomorrow. He admits nerves may be a problem.
I think to start with I'll be a little bit nervous come Saturday. From what I've been told, it's quite an occasion. I think nerves are in order, really.
Yes, what do you know about Old Firm games?
Only what the lads have told me, that it's a very passionate occasion. There's always a full house, and of course the intense rivalry. Hopefully that Celtic will come out on top, but we'll wait and see on that one.
You're very happy at Celtic in the short time you've been there, aren't you?
Very happy, yes. Things have gone very well for us. We've had a pretty good start, and things have gone well for me personally too. I've been playing reasonably well. Hopefully I'm going to get better, but I'm quite pleased, yeah.
And lining up against Morris and his teammates will be another Englishman getting his first Old Firm experience too. He's 26-year-old Mark Falco, brought to Ibrox after spells with Tottenham and Watford. Falco has struck up an effective partnership with Ali McCoist and clearly looks to get on the score sheet tomorrow. He talked earlier about the Old Firm experience which awaits him.
I'm very excited. The lads at the club have told me it's twice as big as the London derby what I played in, Arsenal and Tottenham. So it should be quite an event.
What else have they told you? I mean, it is a totally different atmosphere.
Yeah, they say there'll be 60,000 and they'll be cheering all through the game. They'll be just singing and enjoying themselves.
Before you came here, were you aware of the fierce competitiveness of a Celtic Rangers game?
Not as much as when I come up here. You know, I've heard about it, but now I'm up here, you can feel it. You know, it's more than what you realise.
Well, Jerry McNee, Celtic Rangers tomorrow and significant team changes tonight.
That's right, that's a big blow for Rangers losing Terry Butcher, and certainly a big blow for Celtic losing Pat Bonner, 2 very experienced players. Butcher doesn't have a lot of Old Firm experience, but he's been over the course a few times now, and that definitely makes things difficult for Rangers.
A night of insomnia for young McKnight, perhaps?
Possibly. It's some place to make your Premier League debut. Now, he played at Dumbarton the other night in what was a relatively easy match for Celtic. This will obviously be something very different for him tomorrow. But Celtic have to find out what they have in reserve in terms of goalkeepers, and there's no better place to find out than this particular game in that atmosphere.
A prediction about tomorrow?
As well doing that, Jim. No, I'll go for Rangers. I think it'll be a high-scoring game. Ali McCoist and Andy Walker, 8 goals apiece in 6 games. I think we'll see a lot of goals.
Hearts Hibs, and Hibs under a new chairman.
That's right, exciting times again for Hibs, a new signing in Neil Orr.
Glamour Football League match planned for Manchester down in England. The Everton Rangers game, and we believe that is now off.
That's right, it has been called off, and the Scottish League have acted sensibly here. They contacted the English League today and said they didn't want the game to go ahead. It's a victory for common sense. I think it would be madness to have Rangers travelling down there in the present climate in England. Now, this is no reflection on Rangers. They've got their house in order. They've spent a lot of money stewarding Ibrox, getting the message across to their fans. I think it would have been absolute madness for this game to go ahead.
And it seems the English authorities went about it in a really ham-fisted way.
They did. Well, they contacted the Scottish League at the turn of the year and asked for the eventual champions to be sent down. No one knew at that stage who it would be. But that's irrelevant. I think we don't have to play English teams now. We've got all of Europe to play against, and we should concentrate on that. They've got their problems, let them sort it out.
Transfer news tonight, Jerry, which has just reached us. Alan Irvine, the ex-Falkirk man who went to Liverpool, he's been bought tonight by Dundee United for £100,000.
I think that's a good signing for them. He's a tall player. He'll do well up front for them. I saw him a couple of times last season. For a big man, he's got a lot of skill, and I saw him score a couple of cracking goals.
It's all happening. Jerry, thanks.
And a footnote to the sport. 3 Scots football stars accused of assault have had their trial postponed. Rangers players Ali McCoist and Ian Durant and their former teammate Ted McMinn, who now plays for Seville, were due to appear today at Hamilton Sheriff Court. They have denied assaulting 2 youths outside a Lanarkshire nightclub, and trial has now been fixed for September the 22nd. Well, now tonight...
To celebrate the centenary of the English Football League has been called off. Earlier this week, the English Football Association expressed concern that any trouble at the match could endanger the chances of English teams being readmitted to European competition. The statement angered the Scottish Football League, whose secretary Jim Farry said a short time ago that it would have been imprudent to remain party to any disquiet. Now, with a look ahead to the first Old Firm match of the season, Scottish hopes for the World Athletics Championship and...
A capacity crowd at Celtic Park tomorrow will watch Billy McNeill's first encounter with Rangers since returning to Scotland. The Ibrox side are without their captain, Terry Butcher, while Celtic keeper Pat Bonner is doubtful. Definitely playing are 2 strikers who've already scored 16 goals between them this season, Andy Walker and Ali McCoist. Billy McNeill has clear ideas of what he needs to do to win his first Old Firm match since returning to Parkhead. But he's likely to be without keeper Pat Bonner. Alan McKnight should make his first appearance against Rangers. Up front, Billy Stark will be playing in his first Old Firm match, as will Andy Walker, scorer of 8 goals already this season.
I'm enjoying myself at the moment. I've scored a few goals and I'll be looking to score a couple tomorrow as well.
Brian McClare did rather well against Rangers last season, and you're obviously being asked to take over his mantle. Do you think you're fitting into that role rather well?
Well, I don't agree that I was signed as a replacement for Brian McClare. I was brought here to do my own job, and I think I'm showing that I'm doing that just now. But if I can do as well as Brian McClare did last season, then I'll be very happy.
William playing some superb football, engineered mainly by the man spraying out that pass at the moment, Souness. Now Cooper. Ooh, it's there!
Ali McCoist finished top scorer for Rangers last year. His 8 already this season, including 2 hat-tricks, are partly due to the presence of Mark Falco.
Definitely is Mark's. I think it's a wee bit unfair because I've been getting most of the publicity, banging in a couple of hat-tricks in the last 2 games, but by no manner of means am I taking it for granted, because I know Big Mark's doing a great job for me, especially, taking a lot of weight off me, and the good thing is he's getting a couple of goals as well.
So, Scotland's match of the day is at Parkhead. At Pittodrie, league leaders Aberdeen play Dundee United, thrashed last week by Hearts. The Tynecastle players should be confident of extending their unbeaten run against Hibs, who managed a share of the points in this...
Special.
A very good evening to you. It is nice to be back. It's especially pleasing to be ushered in by another controversial Old Firm match. Now, I wouldn't say exactly it's an ex-certificate game, more a parental guidance job. It had just over 60,000 patrons who yet again gave their vocal seal of approval to proceedings, which, as always, will be the talk of the town for the next few days. We'll be coming to that in just a moment. And we have absolute and conclusive proof for you tonight that the rain in Spain, which if not eternal, does boast one of the great club games of football. Well, we do keep saying that, don't we? The interest in it is certainly the equal of any game around the world. But did it live up to that tag? Well, try and make your own judgment from options, which a referee might, in fact, just be waiting for. And Rangers, in every sense, and certainly a business one, cannot afford to have Souness sitting in the stand, which he will be on Wednesday night for the Hearts game in the Skol Cup. And Hearts, by the way, won the Edinburgh derby with the only goal of the game scored by John Robertson after Alan Ruff had attempted a header. Well, Alan always did want to be a centre-half. 2 penalties at Aberdeen. Celtic at the top on goal difference. Dundee playing extremely well. They go to Ibrox next week. Hearts, St Mirren, and then Dundee United back in contention again. Well, now to athletics, which will certainly dominate the rest of the week as the pictures from Rome flood into our living rooms. Already today we've had a sample of the high quality we're likely to experience in virtually all of the events, but the keenest interest for Scottish viewers will, of course, centre around a small handful of athletes, the best favourite of which is surely the man who's been given the title the Bellshill Bullet. Tom McKean can't just run, he can also look after himself in some of these brawls that develop on the bends from time to time. In short, he seems to have been especially made for these championships. Here he is in his first outing, and it'll be for him.
Souness was sent off for a tackle on match winner Billy Stark after an earlier caution for dissent. That certainly means an automatic ban for Wednesday's Skull Cup tie against Hearts. That was bad enough considering his earlier record. Sent off in his first Rangers match against Hibs, sent off on the day Rangers won the championship at Aberdeen, sent off against Celtic yesterday. But it was 6 words spoken by the Rangers player-manager to referee David Syme half an hour after the game, which put Souness's future in doubt. The men met in a Parkhead corridor, and I understand the referee will report that incident to the SFA. Syme will talk to his linesman tomorrow. We will have to wait for the referee's report, but if the referee reports it separately, then it would have to be considered by the disciplinary committee, who have unlimited powers, said an SFA spokesman today. And Scottish League Secretary Jim Farry says if there was an after-match incident, and reports indicate there was, the matter would be put before the League Management Committee. And Rangers assistant manager Walter Smith could be called in front of the SFA to explain this remark. Souness is being singled out. He is certainly getting harsher treatment than other players. My own view, David Syme had no alternative. Graham Souness should have known better. And when that after-match incident is reported, there'll be big trouble. And one other point, Rangers should take action over acting skipper Graham Roberts, who refused to shake Celtic's hands at the end of the finish. That really isn't good enough. Right. To Edinburgh. Gentler souls over there, even in their local derbies. Hibs under new ownership against Hearts, whose chairman Wallace Mercer can sit back and watch now how his team duffed up the side from the other end of the city. Jock Brown. Here's what it does to a changing Premier League table. Celtic take over at the top on goal difference from unbeaten Aberdeen. Dundee are the division's top scorers. Hearts are bowling along, and cup holders St Mirren have improved after a poor start. In the individual goal race, Dundee's Tommy Coyne scored 4 to jump to the top. He and Keith Wright have scored 14 out of 19 goals for the Dens Park Club in League and Skull Cup ties this season, the most prolific partnership in the country. And our Red Card Club welcomes 3 new members. Graham Souness must be elected for the presidency, of course, but the sendings off in the Renfrewshire derby of Ian Ferguson and John Bogue put St Mirren into the lead in the League of Bad Lads. Coming up this week, 4 great Skull League Cup ties. On Tuesday night, numbers 1 and 2 in the league clash at Pittodrie. Manager Ian Porterfield has all kinds of problems. Alex McLeish, Willie Miller and Neil Simpson, Davy Dodds and John Hewitt are all injured. I take the Dons to win with no real conviction, apart from home advantage, which might just be enough for Motherwell as well. On Wednesday, Rangers minus Souness and Butcher take on Hearts. Even money match that one, but after yesterday's events, Rangers will be angry and dangerous. And I know Jockey Scott was giving me dog's abuse for tipping Meadowbank in the last round, so this time, Jockey, I'll take Dundee to win the Tayside derby. And to prove it isn't all aggro in football, 2 stories from downstairs in the 1st and 2nd Division. Stirling Albion goalkeeper Andy Graham missed yesterday's game with stomach muscle trouble. He actually hurt himself hanging wallpaper at home. Well, I always leave it to the wife myself. And one referee was actually praised. Meadowbank's bus broke down on the way to Forfar, and Hugh Williamson allowed a 20-minute delay in the kick-off. Very nice, very sensible, said Meadowbank manager Terry Christie. Not all that bad, these refs. Right, to Wallace Mercer, the man who took Hearts out of Skid Row and into Europe. A man with a view on most things. Today we confront him with your views on Hearts, on Hibs, on his proposal for full-time refs, in fact, anything which affects football and the fans. Wallace, welcome. And you must have been delighted watching your team winning the derby there.
It's been the end of a very good 10-day sequel. We've had 4 home matches and appeared in front of 65,000 people, so it's tremendous.
What do you put it down to, this upsurge?
It was Rangers, but the market's been improving for the last few years, and we've noticed a tremendous number of ladies now coming back. We as a club have tried to encourage youngsters as well, and we've done that.
Hearts came to Celtic Park 2 weeks ago and blatantly cheated 30,000 fans out of their entertainment. From the first kick of the ball, Messrs Jardine and McPherson were passing back to their goalkeeper. And he goes on to say, what did I get for my money after their plans for a goalless draw came unstuck? You have to actually look at the address there. I suspect he might just, Wallace, be a Celtic fan.
I think Mr Connolly got good value for money. He saw a very technically sound game, to be honest with you. And the fact that we were within 3 minutes of drawing at Parkhead is testament to Hearts Football Club.
Do you think you have a responsibility as a football club to entertain when you're playing away from home?
Totally. I mean, we have a responsibility all the time to the people that pay money to come and watch Scottish football, both on and off the field, the way we deport ourselves, the way we behave. We have a responsibility to people that finance us. At the same time, though, we're not going to take a cavalier approach at Parkhead and probably the manager play 1 in goal and 10 in the forward line. That would just be abject lunacy.
Right.
And I can't see people wanting to pay to see that either. And I wouldn't therefore degrade a sound professional performance by saying it was just passing back to the goalkeeper.
Right, well, let's go back to Edinburgh football and have a look at this letter. What's your reaction to the changes at Easter Road? Would you recommend that the Hibs players... Positive to a fault. Very many thanks, Wallace. Next week, our studio guest is Andy Roxburgh. Expect Mo Johnson among the squad when he picks the pool on Tuesday for next week's game against Hungary. You can see the highlights on Scottish television. Your questions to Andy on the future of the international team, to me, Ian Archer.
That's Ian, and an appropriate spot in this week's programme to give you the result of last week's Scott Sport quiz, in which we gave you the chance to pin the date on 3 sporting clips. We wanted you to name the year, and these are the dates we were looking for. Yes, it's Kilmarnock against Eintracht, and the year was 1964. Had a marvellous response, and our thanks to all the viewers who took part.
To dominate the news, the sending off against Celtic on Saturday of Rangers player-manager Graham Souness, the 3rd time he's been sent off since coming to Scotland last year. Today, the Scottish Football Association received match referee David Syme's report, a copy of which has been sent to Rangers and to Souness, asking for the player-manager's comments. Here's Jim White.
Match referee David Syme's report landed on the SFA's doorstep earlier today, and officials confirmed that Rangers player-manager Graham Souness is automatically banned for 1 game and will have 5 penalty points added to his record because of the ordering off. Now, having been booked earlier, Souness received the red card in the 54th minute of Saturday's match at Parkhead, following a heavy tackle on the game's only goal scorer, Celtic's Billy Stark. But the SFA has also confirmed that referee Syme has reported on a further after-match incident, and details of that will be placed before the association's disciplinary committee a week on Wednesday. Since Saturday, there have been calls from various quarters for Souness to hang up his boots and simply manage the Ibrox club. But Souness will be playing on. Rangers players went training as usual this morning, but the man at the centre of Saturday's row did not. Graham Souness was Manchester-bound to take in the Manchester United-Chelsea bank holiday fixture there. Souness would not be interviewed about Saturday's events, but he confirmed to me that he would be ignoring those who were saying the time was now right for him to quit playing. I love the game, he told me. I couldn't bear the thought of not playing. Souness seemed relaxed and unperturbed about the headline stories containing his name. Indeed, before heading south, he took time out to pose for a photograph with a fan's wife. It's the 3rd time Souness has been sent off since joining Rangers last year. Last time round on Rangers league clinching day at Aberdeen in May, the player boss clearly felt strongly about the dismissal decision that day.
I have my own views on it. Again, if I said what I felt into this microphone, into that camera, I'd get myself into a lot of trouble. But today's not about me getting sent off. Today's about the lads in that dressing room. Every single person at Glasgow Rangers Football Club, from the chairman down to Stan who opens the door. That's what today's about.
Well, Jerry McNee, that was in May. It happened again on Saturday, and you think he should hang up his boots?
Yes, I spoke to Graham last night before the Rangers rally, and I know how much he does love playing football. And what I'm saying, I say reluctantly, because the game in this country needs quality players, and he certainly comes into that category. but there are at least another 3 Old Firm games to come up this season, and at least 3 games between Rangers and Aberdeen, which are also volatile. Now, he's had 3 red cards in a year. Who's to say this won't happen again? And it could end up a personal tragedy for the player. I honestly think the dual roles of player and manager are far too much for anyone. The man has also been shuttling back and forward to Mallorca to see his family. That's an added pressure as well. But he's not the only guilty party here. I'm not making excuses for him. He's not the only guilty party. A lot of things that happened at Parkhead on Saturday left me absolutely sick. And that's a pity because Celtic played so well. But if I want to see hammer throwers, I'll go to the Highland Games. I want to be entertained on a Saturday.
Jerry, the thing is, though, and I think a lot of people appreciate this, Souness still feels he has a great deal to offer the game as a player.
Yes, but is it all worth it? Does he need the hassle? When you've been ordered off 3 times in 12 months, in the Scottish game, something he's been trying to get used to, it's a different ball game altogether, and it could end up, as I say, a personal tragedy for the man. Maybe the decision will eventually be taken out of his hands.
Briefly, Jerry, some supporters were saying on Saturday that he's being picked upon by certain referees. True or false, do you think?
Well, I cannot answer that. I would hate to think that was the case.
OK, Jerry, thanks. And we'll return to Jerry in a moment for news of a football competition we're sure will interest you. But a brief change of sport, and with 5 matches played in the Premier League, we thought it was predictions time. Right now in the Premier, Celtic and Aberdeen sit at the top, followed by Dundee and Hearts. Champions Rangers, 4th bottom on just 3 points. But how will things look at the top and the bottom of the Premier League come the final day on May the 7th next year? We want your predictions, and there are prizes of cup final tickets involved. Now, for my own sins, I'll take Aberdeen to end up champions, with Rangers ending up 2nd and Celtic 3rd. My colleague, Jerry McNee, is taking Rangers to be champions again, with Aberdeen 2nd and Celtic 3rd. But 3 clubs will go down next May, and we also want predictions about them. I'm saying my candidates there are Motherwell, Morton, and sorry, Brockville fans, Falkirk on bottom spot. Jerry takes Falkirk, Dunfermline, and apologies to Greenock, Morton on the bottom spot. So what are your predictions for the top Premier League positions 1, 2 and 3 and the relegation clubs 10, 11 and 12? Send your guesses please on a postcard to Football Competition, Scotland Today, Scottish Television, Cowcaddens, Glasgow G2 3PR. We're putting a closing date of September the 11th, that is a week on Friday. Now, once the league placings sort themselves out next May, we'll go back to your entries. 6 winners who get the right placings will be invited with a partner to be our guests on Scottish Cup Final Day on May the 14th, including stand tickets for the Cup Final itself. Now, Jerry, Rangers, Aberdeen and Celtic, should we believe your predictions?
Well, I don't see why not, Jim, but I'm glad to see you're putting your neck in the chopping block. You left me high and dry on Friday night with that Rangers prediction, so let's have a bit more of this from you.
Well, I'll avoid any haranguing I'll get from Old Firm fans. I'm going to say Aberdeen. Not much of a hope there, or is there?
I think there is. I think if anyone beats Rangers to the title, Aberdeen will, because they've got a magnificent midfield now with the introduction of Peter Nicholas. Very good defence, and they're scoring goals up front. Aberdeen will be very much involved this season.
The viewers, no doubt, will get it right and we'll get it wrong.
Probably.
Let's wait and see. And finally tonight, a football match with a difference, but in a great cause. Students from Clydebank College have adopted Lynn Gilmore.
Some of the old guard and has opted instead, in some cases, for young blood. The details, plus the story of the fight to save one of Scotland's best boxing clubs, from Jim White.
First, the Roxburgh squad for that match against Hungary at Hampden a week on Wednesday. We haven't won an international since the victory over Luxembourg at Hampden last November, so the national coach clearly believes it's time to experiment. Motherwell and Aberdeen secured places in tomorrow's Skull Cup semi-final draw. Tonight, Rangers, Hearts, Dundee and Dundee United fight it out for the 2 remaining semi-final places. Rangers are without 2 key men tonight. Player-manager Graham Souness is suspended, while club captain Terry Butcher is still sidelined through injury. Hearts just might pull off a victory tonight. The Tynecastle men have lost just 1 of their 5 Premier League matches to date. On Saturday, striker John Robertson provided the winning goal.
There's Gary Mackay. Offering some variety with a short ball to Cahoon. King's header. Mickey Weir challenging. Good goal by Kidd. Oh, Nuss in trouble. Here's John Cahoon. A chance now for Hearts. There's Robertson. 6 minutes gone. John Robertson sends the Hearts fans into that state of delight. And what a disaster for Alan Roth.
At Dens, Dundee take on neighbours Dundee United. A close thing is expected there, and the bookies side with that. Both clubs are quoted at 6-4 by the bookies today. Finally, good European news for Scottish clubs tonight, and they can all thank Dundee United. Because of United's solid UEFA Cup performance last season, UEFA has ruled that 5 Scottish clubs will qualify for the European competitions next season, even though the top division here is reduced to 10 clubs. It means Scotland will be the only nation with half of its top division clubs in Europe next term. A factor, again, which may persuade the country's big-name players to play their football here.
Over the future of Arsenal striker Charlie Nicholas. The London club were refusing to say if the 25-year-old Scot would be transfer listed, but I understand that should he be, Celtic manager Billy McNeill will be making an early approach. Celtic were refusing to comment today. Well, McNeill takes his side to Tannadice tomorrow for Scotland's match of the day, but it's in Stirling that history will be made when Stirling Albion line up against Ayr United. It'll be the first senior match on an artificial pitch in Scotland. Anfield went under the knife in May as contractors carried out plastic surgery. After 5 months' intensive treatment, the operation's complete and the bandages came off today. The result, a new-look stadium with an all-weather multi-purpose pitch. Its owners, Stirling District, will clearly be giving football priority. Stirling Albion play here for the first time tomorrow against second division leaders Ayr United. But the surface suits most sports. Local bowlers, for example, reckon that they might hire it for a winter league. Despite the appearance of frost today, the surface had just been sanded. Hockey players have shown great interest. Outdoor keep fit is another possibility. The pitch should have been ready a month ago, but failed stringent tests.
The problem really was that we tested it too early, Bill. The Preston surface, which is probably the one that's closest to this, although we think now we've got a better surface than they have, was tested 3 months after completion. We tested it 3 days after completion, and we failed 2 of the tests, but a fortnight later we passed all 6 tests.
Now golf and Scotland.
In Glasgow to prepare for Wednesday night's friendly international against Hungary. With the latest on Andy Roxburgh's plans, as well as some thoughts on how Scotland's rugby selectors will replace retiring captain Colin Deans, here's Don Lindsay.
The announcement at the weekend by Scotland rugby captain Colin Deans that he's quitting the sport has rocked the game. Scotland's squad has assembled for the first international of the new season. Since Roxburgh took over, the Scots have managed just 1 win in 7 starts, and I went along to Hampden to see how the coach and his players felt about Wednesday's friendly against Hungary. Scotland's players were in relaxed and confident mood as they walked out at the National Stadium this morning. Coach Andy Roxburgh had to put up with just 2 call-offs over the weekend from his original squad, Everton's Graham Sharp and Neil Simpson of Aberdeen, the injured pair. Roxburgh has chosen a much younger pool of players for the Hungary match. There's the likes of Rangers' Ian Durant, set to make his international debut, Eric Black from French club Metz, and the former Celtic strike force of Mo Johnston and Brian McClare. Is Roxburgh trying to stamp his own identity on the squad by picking so many up-and-coming stars?
Well, it's, I suppose, just a natural progression, you know, that a number of players will come into the squad. We've still got 1 or 2 of the old heads around us. We've nicknamed them the Minders, but we've got 1 or 2 lads, as I say, who've been around the place before. Some lads who've been with us who haven't quite been exposed to the international scene yet. I mean, for example, Stevie Clark from Chelsea's one of those lads, where he's been around for a while, but he hasn't actually played yet because he always seems to be injured.
In the overall build-up for the World Cup in 1990, how important is the next year going to be?
Oh, vitally important. I mean, over the next 4 games we have before the World Cup draw is made, it's very important to us. Our first aim is to continue to do well in Europe. We want to try and make sure we finish with a respectable position and a respectable number of points. This match with Hungary, obviously an important one, the first game of the season, a morale booster, we hope. And then the World Cup draw, and then we really get down to business in terms of preparing for the World Cup itself. So the season's very, very important to us, and we hope we get a good lift-off on Wednesday.
Roxburgh will name the team for Wednesday's match tomorrow afternoon, and it looks as if the accent will be on youth. Well, at the other end...
Roxburgh has finally ended the guessing game by naming his team for tomorrow's international against Hungary at Hampden. There was also the announcement today that a major international football tournament is to be held in Scotland in 2 years. With the latest on those stories, here's Don Lindsay.
Andy Roxburgh has picked one of the youngest Scotland sides ever for tomorrow's friendly against Hungary. The 11, which has an average age of 24, contains 2 new caps, and it is Jim Leighton of Aberdeen. One of the new caps is Steve Clark of Chelsea, an old hand in Willie Miller of Aberdeen. Joining him in defence, Richard Gough of Tottenham Hotspur. Back in the pool after injury, Stevie Nicol of Liverpool. Manchester United's Gordon Strachan also making a recovery. Paul McStay's early form paying off for him, and the captaincy as usual taken by Roy Aitken in the midfield. Ian Durant of Rangers gets that first cap. Mo Johnson comes back from France, and partnering him up front, Ali McCoist of Rangers. And as expected, Rangers' Ian Durant gets his chance in midfield after some superb early season performances. And the other newcomer is the ex-St Mirren centre-back Steve Clarke, who at 25 gets the chance to claim a permanent place in the Scotland setup.
I'll be nervous on the night, first cap for your country, but I don't think Hampden holds any fears for me. I've played there before, I've played in front of a large crowd, so there shouldn't be any problem that way.
It's quite a young side that Andy Roxburgh has picked for the match. Is that something that pleases you, the fact you'll be playing along with people round about your own age?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing for me. Obviously, it's also good to play alongside more experienced players, because any experience that I can pick up at this stage of my career is vital for me.
And if someone like Stevie Clarke coming in, I think he'll be very happy to know that people like Gordon Strachan's in front of him and Willie Miller's behind him. And he can learn a lot from people like that by playing. I mean, coaching's one thing, but I mean the major thing is actually on the field, and you learn far, far more by playing with really good players.
And do you feel now that perhaps this is purely Andy Roxburgh's team?
No, one thing is the Scottish team will never be my team. The Scottish team belongs to the public, and obviously I'm part of it and I influence things that happen. But the Scottish team belongs, as I say, to the people, and I don't like the idea that it should be labelled as my team.
Well, I'll be getting the views of Jerry McNee on that Scotland side shortly, but meanwhile Rangers player manager Graham Souness has denied stories that he's about to sell goalkeeper Chris Woods. Writing in the club's official newspapers, Souness says Chris Woods will not, repeat not, be going to Manchester United or any other club. Tough talk from the Rangers boss, but sources close to Woods have told me that a move south of the border is very much on. Apparently Woods' wife Sarah has found it difficult to settle in Scotland, and the player also feels appearing in England would improve his chances of taking over as first choice for the international side. Manchester United manager Alex Ferguson is on the hunt for a keeper. The other clubs rumoured to be interested are Arsenal and West Ham, although the size of any possible fee could be a problem. Elsewhere, Hibs winger Mickey Weir has signed for the English First Division side Luton Town. Luton's executive director John Smith said this afternoon that the club have agreed terms with Weir and that negotiations will now start with Hibs in an effort to reach agreement over a fee. If that's not possible, how much Weir will cost will be set by an independent tribunal. Hibs value Weir at £300,000. Jerry McNee is with me. First of all, Jerry, Andy Roxburgh's young ones for Wednesday night. What do you think of his selection?
I think there's a fair balance about the side. I believe, though, that the result tomorrow night is not important, though, and I want to see good performances because this is the launch pad for the 1990 World Cup finals. I hope Andy takes the opportunity to bring in the likes of Brian Gunn in the second half, give him a turn and goal. Gary Gillespie at centre-back, we're still to see what he can do, and I definitely want to see Eric Black get part of the game up front. There's no point in bringing him from France to sit in the stand or in the dugout.
What about the other story that's hitting the headlines just now? Chris Woods leaving Rangers. Is that really possible, do you think?
Chris Woods will not be leaving Rangers in the foreseeable future. Now, I spoke to Graham Souness less than an hour ago, and Graham spelled the thing out to me quite clearly. There has been no approach for the player has not asked for a transfer, and Rangers definitely have not put him on the transfer list as was reported. So a lot of nonsense has been spoken here.
Do you think, though, that there's a possibility that with an unsettled family, Woods may decide in the coming months, I don't want to stay in Scotland?
Well, there's a lot of talk about Mrs Woods here. Mrs Woods does not play for Rangers. That family has given a commitment to Rangers, who spent £600,000 on the goalkeeper. I think he's definitely got to play till the end of the season. Rangers involved in the European Cup and the Championship. They've a lot ahead of them. It's a big commitment for the player and the club, and I would expect him fully to stay there till the end of this season.
Jerry McNee, thank you very much. Finally, a reminder about a competition where you can win.
On football, Ian Durant of Rangers and Steve Clarke of Chelsea win their first caps for Scotland. They're in the team to play Hungary in a friendly international tomorrow night at Hampden. And the team is Leighton, Clarke, Gough, Miller, Nicol, Strachan, McStay, Aitken, Durant, Johnson and McCoist.
Sense of relief to have got in the gold standard for Scotland.
Definitely, Jock. I think the previous games I felt I'd played reasonably well without scoring, but to score tonight's a tremendous relief for me, to say the least.
Were you happy to be part of that overall Scotland performance?
Yeah, I think some of the football in the first half we played some great one-touch passing stuff, and we lost it a little bit in the second half, I would think, but overall it was a good performance and a good victory.
You scored 2 goals of very different types. Can you tell us how you saw the first one?
The first one I think was a little bit fortunate. I think Gordon hit a corner or a free kick across, he drove it across, and the driven ball caused him a bit upset in the defence. I think it just ricocheted off somebody, and I was lucky enough to fall to my feet and I struck it, and perhaps the goalkeeper should have done a little bit better, but I was relieved to see it hit the back of the net.
You certainly appear to be particularly happy about number 2.
The second one I was very, very pleased with, because I think Ian tried to play the through ball and it got headed back to him, and he played me the same ball again, and I took a touch and I saw the goalkeeper come out, and I was lucky enough to round him and stick it into the empty net.
Now, do you think you can go on from here, because Scotland have been crying out, as you know, for a striker who scores goals regularly? Do you think you can be the man?
I'd like to think so, I hope so. I'd like to be involved in future squads and play, pull on that blue jersey. It's the greatest feeling in the world, and if I can score the goals for Scotland, I'll be more than pleased.
Yes, well done, Ali McCoy, speaking there exclusively to Scottish television. Ian St John, I think we all came away from Hampden Park reasonably happy and content tonight.
I think that was the general opinion from everyone there, and it's nice to come away from Hampden feeling that at least we enjoyed a game, and we saw some glimmer of hope as far as Scotland was concerned. So I think that was nice, and I mean, Andy's been a little bit low-key simply because I think that he's had so many knocks in his managerial career with Scotland, you know, so many bad results. I would disagree with him. I didn't think that we have played well in the past, but tonight there was a lot of sparkle there. You know, the young players I thought played well, and you know, and it does give you hope for the future.
Well, there were only 21,000 people there, and they didn't make an awful lot of noise. So that really is a sign of we may have started on this road to the World Cup, but it's going to be a long and uphill road to make it, isn't it?
Well, it is, and you know, he's got to build a team that will get the fans back to Hampden Park, because they've been disillusioned. There's no two ways about it, they have. But I think the 21,000 there tonight and the ones who've been watching on television would say, hey, we know, we've got something here, because there was enough good football on display, you know, from both teams.
And what there also was Scotland goals and Ali McCoy. So, I mean, that covers a multitude of sins, doesn't it? And the first goal was, I suppose, just what we needed, because one goal and one win in 7 games last season, we haven't been scoring, and we get a break, don't we?
We need a break, Ian, exactly that, and that's what we got there. We got the break, and you know, I mean, you can play all the football in the world, you can press and get the ball in the box, but sometimes you just need that little bit of luck. And the ball dropping to McCoist, who I must say, having watched him this season, he's electric. He's very quick. Little half chance and bang, it's in the net.
That's right.
You know, I think he was worth his place tonight.
And that encouraged a lot of one-touch football and a lot more confidence, a lot more sort of youthful enthusiasm than we saw last season.
Well, we did. I mean, I thought... see, I've always criticised the Scottish midfield players in the past sort of half a dozen games for not getting involved and not getting forward. But I think the way we played tonight allowed us to do that, because we did link up and we did play a lot of nice stuff.
Yeah, because the second goal, although it's a marvellous finish by McCoist, is a very quick piece of sinking by Ian Durant, isn't it?
I thought Durant played very well throughout the game, and as you say, he likes to get forward with the boy. And look at that there. You know, when the ball came back to him, bump, back it went to his Rangers teammate, and it's in the net. Now that was lovely, it was good play. But it's something, as I say, that we've been wanting to see from Scotland. The midfield players getting forward and giving a supply to the strikers.
And that marvellous shot of Andy Roxburgh coming off the bench when he tries to be awful calm and collected and everything, but there's a heart burning there, isn't there?
I think there was a lot of relief in that when he jumped off the bench.
Right.
Yeah.
We defended quite well, but it has to be said, Hungary were no bad team.
Hungary were a very good side, and as I say, they play some lovely football. The thing about Hungarians, you know, they may not win a lot of games, but they're entertaining, and some of the skills, some of the little flicks and the 1-2s they played, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, Scotland could be criticised, I think, maybe at the centre of defence, because we did allow them to get some shots, but it was because I think they were so skillful.
But the good thing we all go back to the Hungarians of '53. What I like about them is they do encourage other people to do the same. And this move we can see of Scotland is Scots saying, oh, we can do this as well as you, which is a lovely move.
That's right. As I said, you know, I wanted midfield players to get involved and knock the ball around. And when you've got it, don't give it away. And I think tonight there was lots of this going on. Little Gordon got involved as well. You know, Paul McStay, who I thought played well. Durant, there's little Gordon coming. And you see, we have half a dozen passes and we end up with a shot at goal from a midfield player. And all our midfield players tonight got shots at goal. You know, Durant, McStay, Strachan, we all got in there and shots at goal, and that was terrific.
We can't leave it with a word about Jim Leighton, because I suppose managers say that's what we pay these guys for, that goalies are supposed to do it, but I must say the save we're going to see was just one of half a dozen that kept Scotland in the game.
Well, as I said, I felt a little bit for the Hungarians. I think they deserved a goal because they played a lot of clever football, a lot of very inventive football. Some of the 1-2 stuff like that there was superb. And bang, you know, great shot from just outside the box. And Jim Leighton equal to it. And he had to be on his toes 2 or 3 times tonight. But again, it's a clean sheet for him, and, you know, terrific goalkeeping. Went across there and held it. Now, that's top-class goalkeeping.
It wouldn't be Scotland if we couldn't find something to criticise. Any minus points quickly, Ian?
Not really. I think tonight, I've come away from that game much heartened with that display tonight, and I think Andy can look forward to the next game with a lot more optimism than he has in the past.
Good. Well, we've got 3 good games coming up, or 2 good games at Hampden Park, and what we want is the 20,000 to become 40,000 to become 60,000.
Sure, and I think the Belgium game will be a tough one for us.
We look forward to it. Yeah. Thanks, Ian.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen. We'll take a break now. And
All been involved in another big top transfer. Today, the club secured the signature of one top English player, and yet another is said to be on the way. Here's Jim White.
Rangers today bought Watford's 26-year-old striker Mark Falco, the fee £365,000. Former Spurs man Falco will join Rangers on their pre-season tour of West Germany and Switzerland after he gets married at the weekend. The player calls it a dream move and should make his debut for Rangers against Swiss club FC Wettingen on Tuesday. And while the club secured Falco's signature today, it became clear that the player-manager also has his sights on yet another Englishman, 33-year-old Trevor Francis. Rangers players returned from training today on yet another day of transfer dealings at Ibrox. In total secrecy, Rangers had signed Watford's Mark Falco, the player making a fleeting visit to the stadium late this afternoon. No fee was officially quoted by Rangers, but it's thought the former Tottenham man has cost the Ibrox club more than £350,000. Player-manager Graham Souness left for the club's close-season tour of West Germany and Switzerland, saying nothing about the deal. But as Falco signed, it became clear another big name is on the way. Former England striker Trevor Francis, who recently failed to have his contract renewed by Italian club Atalanta, looks set to play his football next season at Ibrox. Though Rangers wouldn't confirm it, it's understood Francis will definitely be a Rangers player by the start of the new season. So Souness has got Falco, but if he gets Francis, it'll be the renewal of an old partnership. Francis and Souness played for Genoa-based Sampdoria in Italy before Souness's move to Ibrox. It was Francis who persuaded Sampdoria to buy Souness after the Italians refused to pay huge money for Brian Robson.
So the president came to me and said, who would you recommend for Sampdoria? And I said, well, the man you need is Graham Souness. So naturally, I've gained a great deal of satisfaction seeing Graham playing so well here.
Meanwhile, as the never-ending transfer dealings at Ibrox go on, the fixtures for the Rangers pre-season tournament in August were confirmed. On the 1st of August, Rangers will play Spanish club Real Sociedad. If they win, the following day, they'll meet the winners of the match between Dutch side Ajax and Porto Alegre of Brazil.
Another Englishman to their playing staff. This afternoon they signed striker Mark Falco from Watford for a fee believed to be around £400,000. Falco, who's 26, is to be married on Saturday. He plans to fly out on Monday to join his new club on their pre-season tour of Switzerland and West Germany. And Rangers are believed to be negotiating for another English striker, Trevor Francis, currently playing in Italy with Graham Souness's old club Sampdoria. The club hope that he too will be playing in a pre-season tournament at Ibrox on the 1st and 2nd of August. Taking part with Rangers will be Ajax of Amsterdam, the Spanish Cup winners Real Sociedad and Porto Alegre from Brazil.
Name signing arrived at Ibrox Park for the first time today. For the details, plus other pre-season transfer news, here's Jim White.
His football career has taken him to a variety of cities around Europe and North America, such as Nottingham, Genoa and Detroit. Trevor Francis will now set up home in central Scotland and is the next Englishman to join up at Ibrox. 33-year-old Trevor Francis had met his new teammates during Rangers' close-season tour of Switzerland and West Germany. But today was his first ever glimpse of Ibrox Stadium. He was impressed.
Well, I've been told so much about it from Graham Souness, and everything he said is true. It's a magnificent stadium.
Does it excite you? What's happening in Scottish football? Does it excite you?
Very much so, yes. You know, last year Glasgow Rangers had a great year. Obviously, we've got to try and defend the championship this year. It's not going to be easy, but you know, 1 or 2 players have already been added to the squad from last year, and I think that we've got as good a chance as anyone to win the championship.
Francis has come to Ibrox with much experience, having played for clubs in England, the United States and Italy. He'll iron out the finer detail of his contract with Rangers this week. But as he trained with club trainer Phil Boersma today, it became clear Francis's Rangers debut may be delayed. He's still recovering from a shoulder injury, and it's thought he won't play his first senior match for another fortnight. In the meantime, Francis and wife Helen will begin house hunting. But as one Englishman arrives at Ibrox, another leaves. Rangers young reserve striker Neil Woods, bought just a year ago from Doncaster Rovers, is to join Ipswich Town for £120,000. Woods was at Portman Road today and has tonight flown out to Sweden to join Ipswich on a pre-season tour there. Meanwhile, Aberdeen have failed in a bid to sign Derby County striker Bobby Davison. Derby manager Arthur Cox revealed today that he had turned down a substantial bid for Davison from Ian Porterfield. If the Dons want the player, said Cox, they'll need to increase their offer considerably. Finally, Dundee United are the latest Premier League club to change sponsors. The Taysiders have signed up with Brewers Bellhaven in a sponsorship deal worth more than £200,000 over 3 years. There will be handsome bonuses involved in the deal for United should the club reach the last stages of European competition.
And let's hope they do. Sponsorship deals like that are hardly small beer, let's face it. Jim White there with the sports news. And that brings us to tonight's main news headlines.
The better ball, there's no offside. In Redford, there's Gallagher. Ferguson's done it. And he's offside, no. Ferguson is offside. Great run by Ferguson here. Can he put it away? Out. Ian Ferguson, one chance in the game, and St Mirren are in the lead.